Good evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live. Morecambe and Wise are back together, back for good. Nice to have you all with us on this Monday evening at 8 p.m.
You got the marks off your wrist from the shackles in the dungeon.
Yes, exactly. 6 p.m, not 8 p.m. Don't know why I was talking that. Big week of golf. Live, PGA Tour, DP World Tour all came together in Scotland and enjoyed the sunshine that Scotland sometimes delivers. Just a little bit of a mic situation there. And I think you'll all agree that the golf was exciting. It was nice to have people like Tyrrell Hatton, Brooks Koepka all teeing it up alongside Rory McIlroy and a few others of the DP World Tour and PGA Tour. Your takeaways for the week? We've got a load of questions, so we're going to keep the roundup of golf this week a little short.
1, Tyrrell Hatton's very good at St Andrews.
Yes.
2, Nicholas Colsaert's also very good at St Andrews.
Yes.
Great to see him playing freely. And 3, outward show of coming together from Live, PGA Tour, European Tour. Hopefully they'll do something soon about it.
Well, so say all of us. Yeah, we want that to happen. So let's get straight into the questions because there is a bunch of them. Super technician James has said that because the questions have come in so early, these early questions we can't flash up on the screen, but anything subsequent from now, they'll be able to get them up on the screen. So let's get straight into it. John Pucket, good evening, good afternoon from the States. What are the primary differences between the JPX Tour and the forged irons? How do these compare to the pro lineup?
So JPX Tour might as well be in the MP lineup. It's a blade, there's no tech. Actually, don't know why they bother, quite frankly, when you got the MP lineup. It's just a blade. And the forged is the first foray into having some face tech. Multi-material structure, a little bit of forgiveness and ball speed off the face. There's crossover. 243 MP 243 is not dissimilar to the JPX Forge. It's a neater frame. It's a MP player's shape, but the JPX Tour is just a blade. There's not a lot of point in them doing it really, in my opinion.
Chris Johnston, hi fellas. I'm looking at a 7-wood that has a Diamana B Series ATX shaft. Would this be a standard weight for 7-wood or possibly too heavy? Thanks, Chris.
No, and I don't know is the answer. 80 grams, 85, which is where that'll sit, is pretty strong. You normally see that in strong kind of tour players, strong amateurs, kind of heavy hitters, that kind of weight. But it depends what you are as to whether it's the right kind of weight or too heavy. But it's a decent amount of shaft there.
Fantastic. If you are joining us on Precision Golf, obviously keep your questions firing in. If you're heading over to Good Golf Coaching, keep those questions coming in. We'll answer them on both channels. Coaching for myself, obviously all of the club tech for young Simon.
Requirement of coaching here.
Requirement of coaching. Alien Blob 21, great handle. Hi guys, are extruded shafts better for roundness or rolled shafts?
In principle, extruded means there's no seam, there's no bond, so it's just a more consistent kind of 360-degree material. However, a bonded shaft, a rolled shaft, they're still great quality. So the extruded Oba and Shimada are the only ones that I'm aware of that do that. But they're all great quality shafts. However, you could argue without a seam or a bond, a bit more consistency out of extruded.
I want to give a bit of a shout out for our Team Challenge trophy that is building nicely for May next year. 5 teams heading out to the Costa Navarino where we all go head to head. Myself, Roger Chapman, Henny Koyak, Lewis. 4 teams, not 5 teams. I could see someone looking at me saying, "There's not 5,
signed
there's
up a
4."
new captain.
So 4 teams.
It might be a 5th if enough people sign up. We'll get a 5th.
Absolutely, playing over 3 different golf courses, all fighting it out for the trophy. I can't remember who won last year.
I can't either. The rest of his team.
No, that was me. Anyway, so if you would like to get in touch and you would like to come along to this fantastic event, the 3rd running of it, drop me an email, stuart@precisiongolf.co.uk, and we'll get you signed up. Nigel Coase joined us today, and he's one of many that have signed up. So do crack on with that if you want to join us. Alien Blob 21 goes on to ask, still playing an original sim driver, but is getting a bit beaten up. Want to switch to the QI10. Would LS or regular model be better?
LS is very low launch, low spin. So it could end up knocking the flight down a little bit. A lot of the tour players have gone into what they call the core model QI10. It is still quite low spin, but it's just a little bit safer from a flight point of view. So the answer is you have to test them and see where the flight comes out to know which one's best. But quite possibly the core model QI10 might be the safer bet.
I didn't miss you out. I would just unlimited power 888. I saw Alien Blob had a couple of extra questions in there. But unlimited power 888 asks, what are the differences, if any, for tour issue iron heads, say a P770 2023 tour issue versus the retail model?
I mean, they do make slight variations for tour that have really tend to tone down the faces and the short irons of a head like that. So I couldn't honestly give you a definite answer on that. So that Callaway are known for doing several models of tour heads that we will never see at retail. But the most likely thing is that the structure in the shorter irons is going to be based more around a single piece, kind of consistency-based club, developing into more like the longer irons that you're used to seeing from the standard model. Would be the best guess.
Simon likes to hit drivers, irons and wedges. I like to heckle. So if you want Simon to trial and test anything out, we've got the TrackMan standing by, James, on all of the screens to give you all of the insights. So do get him to hit some shots if you would like him to. Andrew, I'll do it too, but I'm not that fussed on it. Andrew Hummond, hi chaps. Can't wait for my full bag fit with Nick S on Friday. How easy is it for the fitter to account for any ongoing swing changes? This is a great question you may be going through. Can this be allowed for within the fit? He has an answer for you, but at the moment we have a small break to allow James to do the microphone upgrade.
What do we think?
And now
audible?
And now we can hear Simon.
Absolutely, okay. So, yep, it's certainly, as long as the fitter knows what you're working on and kind of where you are in kind of how comfortable you feel with it, you can definitely pitch a fit towards the stronger swings, where it's sort of, if you're bedding an action in, the more confident moves. But also depending on what your swing change is doing, we will know based on what you're working, what it will do to flight. So as long as you give a load of information to the fitter on what you're doing, not a problem at all.
I'm going to jump over to Good Golf Coaching. Nice to have a few people on there. Jeff Berger, what do launch monitors tell us about the key parameters of a well-struck putt?
Well-struck putt. So you've got twist, strike point. You're going to see deflection off the or face deflection at impact, launch angle, and spin. In the same way that for a full swing shot, your launch parameter in terms of roll and speed consistency, speed off the face, critical. But face angle at address, face angle at impact, launch angle, ball speed, spin. Yeah. But the face angle at impact start line and that spin number, how quickly you get it rolling, those are really, 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 really important.
Yeah, that differential between alignment and return. I mean, that is going to effectively have such an impact on how you read putts, whether you actually get it started on the line that you predicted, right? So that's a biggie.
Can you aim your putter?
Yeah. God of Golf 888. Why is it not? There is a lot of 888s. Why is it not common to see guys with the same shaft in the driver, fairway wood, and utility wood? Wouldn't it be better versus different in the three for consistency in swing?
If it was better, you'd see it more regularly. And ultimately, as the driver heads are so much bigger than the fairway wood heads, and the fairway wood heads are constructed so differently to the hybrid heads, that what you need the shaft to do changes. So essentially, in a driver, if you miss hit a driver way out the toe, the amount of force, rotational twisting force that the shaft has to control is much, much higher than it is on a fairway wood, and similarly to a hybrid. So the design of the shaft, the structure, generally gets a little softer in the tip to a fairway wood from a driver, and you're looking to launch it up rather than keep the flight down a little bit more with the driver. So the shafts just need to behave differently, and the head weights progress quite a lot as well. So there are some really key differences in the shaft that just help the performance from each bit of the bag. But you do see some players will play the same model, but the weight will progress, but it's less common than you think.
Brandon Lyle, what ball flight swing signs would one expect to see if a driver wood shaft is under tipped or over tipped? Good question.
you're going to see very little because actually the tipping does very little indeed. So each shaft has a parallel section at the bottom of about 3 inches. So if you technically, if you over tip it, it stiffens it up. It's going to feel slightly firmer and it drops the spin very slightly, 1 to 200 revs. If you under tip it, it'll feel, well, under tip it, I'll use that term loosely, it will be longer, softer, will spin at a hair more. I doubt you would see that in bull flight in any major way.
I've been over tipped for years. God of Golf 888 says, given the varying...
selling himself short.
Hang on, also, no, it just jumped down the screen. Brandon Law, what unlimited power 888, sorry, there's a lot of 888s all of a sudden thrown at me. Unlimited power 888 for irons and other clubs in general. How do you know what the ideal length is? Would we see a certain miss if they are too long or too short?
Well, generally it's postural from a base point. You'd look at someone's base height. You wouldn't necessarily have to do a wrist to floor measurement, but based around height and then arm leg proportions, you get a start point. And then it's ball striking ability. If the shaft's very long, if it's too long, the club's probably going to swing quite heavy, but it can tend to drop the club behind you more in transition. Too short, you're going to struggle to get down to the ball in the short irons. So it's really going to affect consistency of strike is where you're going to see it more than anything else.
Very good. I'll just jump over onto my channel if I can just get it to tip up. Sorry. Stu60, good evening, chaps. What are your views on wedges with full face grooves? Who benefits from that design?
So, just to clarify what that means.
I really like the look of full face grooves. Are you a fan?
Visually, I think they look horrible.
Interesting.
But that's just personal preference.
Yeah,
so full face grooves, this is a traditional standard wedge where the grooves are in the center of the face. A full face has the grooves all the way out onto the toe. So the principle being in bunkers and shorter shots, where a lot of golfers open up and cut across, that you're getting a higher up the face strike and you've got grooves right out to the toe, so you're getting the benefit of the tread and the grip. So generally, you tend to find those with very much kind of the short game, high toe element style designs designed for the shorter, softer shots. In principle, anyone can benefit from it. It's not something that every brand's done. Cleveland, TaylorMade, Callaway in particular have had iterations of them. But sometimes actually it can hamper someone's alignment. So if you're someone who opens the club up a lot and plays a lot of flop shots, then there is a benefit there for sure.
Very good. God of Golf 888, given the varying QC for shaft companies, do you guys weight sort or all your iron set builds from a large selection of stock? For weight consistency, had a set of dynamic golds that were plus or minus 4 grams.
Well, plus or minus 4 grams, then are they actually I would say they're a knockoff set. True Temper are normally very good on weight. You know, they do their
knockoff set. As in,
they're a fake set because
right.
Plus or minus 4 grams. That in 2 shots you get a whole set's worth of spread, which is vast. And I would be amazed if that ever got through. I've never seen a set that's that bad in weight tolerance. You might get plus or minus a couple of grams. But I mean, generally speaking, we do have a certain amount of shafts in where we can, when the builders are going through, they do weight check them. So we do have the opportunity to either return a shaft or a set of shafts to the supplier and then get another set in the same way we weigh every single grip that goes on to make sure that that they're tested. Each club built is tested with the shaft and the correct grip so that they're built knowing that they're absolutely perfectly swing weighted. It is rare now. It is very rare. It's like lofts on drivers. The tolerances have tightened up massively. So to get a set that bad, I would question whether they were eBay purchase because I've never seen a set that bad, particularly from True Temper.
Good insights. Do you think there is an acceptable loading range for shafts, meaning that I shouldn't try to pump it harder than X miles an hour as the dispersion suffers due to the shaft not holding up to the extra speed?
Something I've mentioned a few times on here, you have world long drive players using the equivalent of a soft regular flex. you're unlikely, unless you're using a complete noodle of a shaft, you're unlikely to overpower a shaft because the shaft isn't flipping the toe over, it's working underneath. So in the majority, there's a little bit of toe rotation from it, but it's not enough to hit it sideways because you've overloaded the shaft. If you're doing that, it's probably gone beyond either your timing ability with the weight of the club or, quite frankly, your actual ability. If you're over hitting it, you're going to lose control.
And the reality is, if you can find more than 5 or 6 miles an hour on top of a regular swing speed, you're doing well.
Yeah.
So 6 miles an hour more isn't going to suddenly snap your shaft. Yeah. Andrew Moore says, how important is golf ball compression in relation to swing speed to get the best performance? What is a good compression for a 95 miles an hour driver swing speed?
Oh, we're talking old school language there. Ultimately, you're worse off going to a ball too soft for your swing speed. So if you think about it logically, compression is really geared in principle a stiffer core of ball. You're trying to minimize the load of the ball when hit by a driver, because if you overload it, it doesn't recover quickly enough and you actually lose ball speed and you gain spin. So I've only ever seen big drop-offs in performance when somebody with a high club speed has hit a distance ball, because effectively you're losing energy through deformation and then the ball doesn't recover quickly, so it doesn't recover its shape or its aerodynamics quickly enough and then loses 25 yards. So in principle, low speed, softer core is easier to activate the core and get low spin with a driver, and high speed, stiffer core resists and doesn't let it overload and therefore keeps the low spin with a driver. That's the principle generally, but at 95 to 100 miles an hour, you can play either something, any of the premium balls will work perfectly well at that speed. Maybe not, say, a left dash Pro V1X potentially, but even then you're still hitting it hard enough. Just don't go to a distance ball at that speed.
Vision Force, using a Tour AD TP7X in a Apex utility wood 21 degrees, and it wants to go right unless I put it quite far forwards in ball position. It all feels a tad heavy. Dropping to a 7S feels better in weight, but it now feels loose and has more left-right dispersion. Any easy fix? Would tipping the 7S more help?
No. No, in word, it wouldn't do anything at all. In terms of left-right dispersion, because flex doesn't work that way. It doesn't rotate the toe. It might reduce spin slightly, but you're not going to turn a hook into a straight shot by tipping it or by using flex really at all. It sounds like the balance of the club is the problem, not the flex. The dead weight in the TP7 could be better for you in the stiff, being a couple of 2 or 3 grams lighter. But if the balance point or the swing weight is off, then you're going to lose control of the club head. That's more likely to be the issue than the shaft construction itself.
Doug says, hi guys, question for Stu. How would you go about inspiring a pupil who is struggling with their game and the changes being made are having no effect? The emphasis on inspiring, asking for a friend. Well, look, I mean, I think if things aren't changing, then you need to either quiz the person that's helping you, find out what their perception is of the changes that need to be made to get you better. If that's the case, out of 25 shots, do you see more than half, if you were to select them, that are actually starting to achieve what you're trying to achieve? You should be able to have an impact on someone's swing or ball dispersion within 20 shots. If you can't do that with the person that's helping you, they're not advising you in the right direction, would be my assessment of it. How to go about changing that? Well, you either have to change coach or have a discussion on what else can we do to change it. So that would be my course of advice. Golf is funny though, isn't it? You can turn up in a lesson, you can feel like you can achieve something so well in front of the guy and then or girl and go down the road and not be able to do it. Then you've got to look at what sort of support you're getting outside of the sessions to be able to move forwards. It's a tricky one. When you're struggling with a game, you can never see yourself getting better, and when you're playing well, you can never ever see yourself playing badly. Go seek a third-party advice. Go down the road. Find someone, no reputation, just someone different, and just see how it goes. And it might be enough just to spur a bit of enthusiasm. But that would be my advice. That would be my advice. Golf Nerd. Hi, Simon. Currently playing NS Pro 1050 GH S irons, iron shafts. They work well, but I would like a tighter, more stable feel. Any suggestions?
So look at 106, 107 grams. It's interesting. They're not a particularly loose shaft. I mean, one of the ways you can go, it's not cheap, but you can go into graphite. At that weight, you're going to get a tighter, firmer feel. You could look at, I mean, the Axioms are very stable, but they're going to swing a little bit more tip heavy. At that weight, there aren't going to be too many that don't throw the balance wildly off. Certainly in steel, if you go more tip heavy to get more stability down the bottom end, then you go tip, if you go tip stiff, sorry, to get stability down the bottom end, you go tip heavy. So that's where potentially a graphite could be a really good way forward, and something like the Axiom would definitely give that tighter, more stable feel.
Inevitable Victory. I've been using a 5X shaft at 60 grams, Tour Edition, Tour Ad, and I'm wondering how I can tell if it's too heavy, but 5S is too soft. Do I have to compromise on either weight or flex?
So if between an S and an X, there isn't enough actual flex change for it to change your dispersion. So if the 5S feels too soft, it's a feel thing. Now, depending on which of the Tour AD shafts it is, then there are some that have a softer profile than others. If it's too heavy in the 5X, then going to the stiff, you're using maybe a couple of grams. It might not make enough difference. But if it's too heavy, then what it's going to do is, as you start down, the club's going to get behind you. You're going to have to catapult it to get it through. You'll lose posture, and then you can hit it both left and right. And you've got to be absolutely spot on to get the best out of it. So that's how you know if your best drives are great, but something that feels slightly off is punished heavily, then it's chances are that's where it's too heavy. And if you can go with the softer flex and not feel out of control with it, the bottom line is the club will not be doing something different enough to get the ball going left and right from a flex point of view. It's just whether you can swing through that feel and trust it. That's the real kind of compromise there. Steve
Munro asks, why are golf grips tapered?
Historically, well, the shaft tapers down for a start, so there is a natural taper to most shafts. But I think historically it goes back to where it was viewed that the right hand, or you have to, where we used to get lateral, rotated to save it. So a smaller bottom hand gets into the fingers more and allows the fingers to wrap around and bring the club face round. We're doing many, many more grips now, or clubs now with reduced taper grips to fill out the bottom hand and quieten that hand off and stabilize it. So I think that's just something that used to be the case. If you think, going back to the old days with a wraparound piece of leather, if the shaft diameter got smaller, then the grip diameter got smaller. And so I think it roots back to that ultimately as a start point, but it is changing now to kind of +2 and +4 grips being much more popular.
Jeff Berger asks, what is the best age to introduce my grandkids to the game and how to go about it? Well, go from plastic clubs up to cut down men's to a degree, really, chop them right the way down, ladies' clubs. I think that's the way to go. I don't think there are any children out there who are too young. Just get them whacking around in the back garden and don't get too much instruction involved too soon. But when they do have instruction, just work on the grip and how they stand to it. That is it. Don't be worried about making it boring for them. Even if you step in every 10th shot and you show them a slightly better grip, just every 10. And then when they start hitting it better, they'll soon be asking you, daddy or granddad, show me that grip again because I keep on hitting it better. So don't shy away from good grip, good standing to it. You don't have to do it every shot, but just every now and then. That would be my advice for the coaching aspect of it as well. So I think young as you can and get them out there hitting the golf ball.
On the club side of it, for juniors, as they develop through, definitely go with a product like a US Kids where the head weights are progressively lighter as they get shorter. because if you use a kind of a normal standard head weight that is an adult's club, they will not be able to swing it until the kind of 12, 13. The head weight's just too heavy. So use a specific children's set because the head weights will be much more manageable.
Very good. Oh goodness, so many questions. It's really good to see.
Thank you very much.
Papa B, hello young men. What teaching and equipment advice would you give a grandfather for helping young children ages 8 to 10 starting out in the game? Thank you. Well, I thought I didn't really understand you would ask that question, but yeah, as little and as often as possible, really. Just make sure they grip it, make sure they stand to it well. Group coaching is a great one. They can meet other kids and make sure it's a fun environment. Coaching really across the UK has really shied away from giving instruction. But as I say, grip, how you stand to it, super important, would be my advice. Chris Burgess, the Yorkshire Blade. That's the last time I'm going to say that tonight, Chris. Gonna be a good one. Gonna be a good show. Simon equals the GOAT. Benjamin Ogden, and Cat GPT. Cat GPT says Simon my GOAT. I've forgotten to list that one out. Benjamin Ogden, I got fit at the start of the year into KBS Tour 130X Pro Plus. Shafts in my irons. My path is way too into out, 8 to 9 degrees. Would lighter different shafts help with path? Also working on drills to help.
So again, definitely maybe. If you're, the principle being, if you go a bit lighter, then if you're heavily into out, I'll turn around this way, then heavy club means as you start down, the club's trying to go that way. You've got gravity involved. So if it's heavy, as you move forward, the club wants to drop, in principle, drop behind more, and that can send your path more into out. So if you go a little bit lighter in the shaft, it might mean lighter but with a heavier tip end. Is the lighter handle end or lighter shaft weight allows you to bring the club, get the club more out in front of you. It comes with you, so you can then get the handle going that way, meaning you can leave the face on line more. If it gets behind you, you're going to flip it and drop it inside. So in principle, yes, a lighter shaft should help you achieve that.
Very good. Very good. Goodness, it's
Have we got to go quick fire already?
No, we're okay actually. We've got a nice steady stream. We've got another half an hour to go. We are absolutely cruising.
Just realised my lower half disappears when I go.
Steve Darington, evening gents, evening Steve. Nice to have you along. How would you build a driver to retain swing weight if I wanted a mid-size +4 style grip, which is very heavy? When I've added heavier grips to driver in the past, it has ruined the club. No beep, Sherlock.
Yeah, so one of the ways you can do it is, depending on grip type, there are some that you can go to the mid-size, and a plus, like the Lamcam, the Sonars in the mid-size in their +2 are 56, 57 grams. You can then add a couple of layers to the bottom hand. You're still sub 60 grams for the grip and the tape, and you're only 5 grams heavier than a standard grip. Then it's maybe 1 or 2 grams, a couple of grams extra in the head. That would be the way I would do it. If you go to a multi-compound +4 mid-size, that's 66 grams, 67 grams, and then, yeah, you're killing swing weight. So grip type is critical when you're going to that kind of size.
Aidan asks, Modus 115X in irons. I have a 120X. I was explaining the other day when we do these lives how the guys, someone was saying about the lives that we do on a Monday night and tech guys. And it's like, people are just so clued up on model numbers and shaft numbers. I think it's so impressive. It's so impressive when I read this stuff out. Aren't you impressed? Like the people are so into it, which is great. Yeah, it's great.
And there is a lot of information out there as well. But yeah, I mean, it is incredible actually the wealth of knowledge that the consumer now has. Yeah. It's great because that helps us all. In terms of a bit of knowledge, helps us all learn and understand what works for us. And that's then key to playing good, consistent golf.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And good golf, good coaching.
Of course. Modus 115X, sorry, in irons. I have a 120X soft step in 50 and Modus 120S in 56-60. Would you recommend anything else wedge shaft wise?
So if your irons swing well, by going into the Modus 120, you've actually gone lighter. This sounds ridiculous, but the Modus 120 is lighter than the Modus 115. So, and a completely different profile. Now the balance more in the tip end of the Modus 120s might be a good thing. But if you like the way your irons swing and don't necessarily have the same control with the wedges, then I would look at potentially the 610 wedge shaft, the KBS 610, in a 120 or a 125, depending on preference. Certainly, the 120 wouldn't be a bad route to go. Potentially, the Dynamic Gold 120 in the wedges is a good shaft for that sort of weight as well, if you want more feel of the tip end.
Cat GPT. Sorry, I saw questions come up from someone asking it from my account. So Good Golf Coaching has asked Josh Wright. Thanks, Josh. Can't quite. Oh, James has done it.
Okay.
I thought. So, oh my goodness, someone's hacked my YouTube account. And not only that, he's watching the show. The cheeky.
I thought you were in Quantum Leap. There's loads of a generation.
It's like, I could all of a sudden. Oh my. Anyway, sorry.
No wonder we went silent.
So Josh said the mic was a bit fuzzy. James has said, I think we've fixed it now. Aidan asks, it's an older shaft, but what's the profile and balance point of the Diamana ZF that Justin Thomas plays? Is there anything similar other than Diamana GT and current shafts? Thank goodness we cleared that up. I was all sorts of worried.
So ZF was designed around responsive tip, low torque. GT is the closest to it, but it's a harder feeling shaft. I would, let me see, a bit of response, but I would also look at maybe, it's not the same profile, but performance is not millimiles off it's a softer feel, the XC graphite design. It's a relative, that ZF is quite I'm not going to say unique shaft, but to get the tip, a little bit of tip response and the low torque, it's a bit like the original Fubuki profile for those that knew the original Fubuki tour. So there aren't too many like that around, but GT would be the closest to it.
What graphite shafts would you recommend for low launching and high spin? Cat GPT asks.
You're not going to see any shaft that advertise, because it's not possible to do both. Now granted, a shaft profile will not make a massive difference on its own to the pitch of launch. It can affect spin, but you're not going to see one shaft launching there and another up there just by the way it bends. There's not enough recovery and deformation of the shaft. He's out for the camp. It's clearly a thrilling shaft. So
send the dog asleep.
I would say, if you're looking for, a graphite shaft for low launch, in principle, it would be things like Axiom, things like the TZI Acra, the heavier graphite designs, but ultimately you're not going to see low launch, high spin out of any shaft on the market, because you've got to go stiff tip to get low launch, and then you get low spin. So you tend to see lower launch, lower spin, higher launch, higher spin, and rarely the other way around.
We've got a bottle of champagne in the fridge on ice.
Not here.
Oh, okay. Well, Minsock Park, who has a really fantastic name anyway. Simon, my handicap has come down by 7 strokes and still on its way down further since the fantastic fitting.
Now Minsock,
thank you.
That brilliant play. That's fantastic and great news to hear. I'm not surprised based on how well that man strikes a golf ball. Right. And I just wish I'd maybe signed him up for a better ball comp before just after he collected the clubs. Great ball strike. That's great news. Really pleased. Thank you very much for letting us know.
I've heard that he's been watching a lot of content on Good Golf Coaching as well.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
Steve Darington, feel free to hit a driver with a very light grip and then a very heavy grip, and describe the feels if you fancy a challenge. Love your work for coaching and fitting.
Okay, so I'll just prep it. There is a way of doing this without having to switch the grip over midway through.
I will ask you a question while you're doing that as well, because you can answer on your mic. Doug asks from my channel, Simon, always wondered why non-set wedges are typically blade-like and don't have the same sort of help, i.e. peripheral weighted or cavity back as many non-bladed clubs. Why is that?
I was thinking about what I was picking up.
No, that's all right. So always wondered why non-set wedges are typically blade-like and don't have the same sort of help, i.e. a peripheral weighting or cavity back as many non-bladed clubs.
So if you go peripheral weighted, then you're putting the mass back and low. Whereas actually in a wedge, they want to put the weight forward and high. So the more blade-like you go, the less help you get. You're keeping the center of mass higher up the face, which creates lower launch and higher spin. And that's the reason why.
Yeah. Woke Barney up that question. Nice work, Doug. Daniel Winterbottom. Hi, chaps. Just wanted to say Stuart's Grip 101 videos have made a huge difference, but path needs work. Simon, do you think mini drivers are here to stay? I prefer small heads. 5-wood is the T club now. Well, Simon's just popped to the workshop. So I will say about the club path. Club path can get inside out if your face is too closed. So if you've changed your grip via my 101 grip series, I would add in a little bit more wrist cup in your backswing, add a little bit more loft, and then when you're coming through strike, as you're unloading the golf club, feel like you create a little bit more unload with a cup in your wrist, as opposed to bowing your wrist like many encourage. If you've got that good grip and then you bow that left wrist, it will make the face too close to your path. Every golfer reacts to the bend in the sky. So as soon as you see a ball bending to the left, that club path will swing inside out. And I'll just quickly demonstrate that while Simon's putting together a golf club. So if I'm going to make my face to path value -7 or 8. And so you'll see the golf ball bend away to the left. So on the screen there, the face to path value is 5.5 degrees. Now to make that ball go straight, if I consistently made that face to path value 5.4 degrees closed, I would need to make my swing path a decent amount inside out to straighten that up. So the face to path value at 7, I was inside out 7 degrees. You can see that the ball's gone straighter to the target. If I was to now swing inside out 7 degrees with a face to path value that's a lot more neutral, the ball would now go to the right. So my path was inside out 4 degrees, my face was open 3.9. You can see how far to the right that ball's gone. So as soon as you get a path that's too much inside out, heavy golf club could be an answer, but equally your face to path value could be too shut as well. And both of those two things will trade off each other, that will end up getting you too much from the inside. Over to you.
Grips. I've not gone ridiculously light simply because the really light mid-sizes I've got somewhere else and I wanted to get back here. So I've gone a standard, a mid-size and a standard weight, but I've also got a +4, which is another 10 grams heavier.
Have you just put that grip on?
Yeah.
Have you?
We do it with air.
Yeah. I heard you going out there.
It's quite a noise.
Yeah, I thought, shame we didn't get it on camera. While you're going to hit that, I'm just going to get a quick drop of water. I'm a little bit parched.
So this one is, swing weight is around D1 on this, so it's a standard wet grip, so this should swing. These are two identical shafts as well, the Diamana Blue Board 63, so that keeps the club swinging neutrally. I've towed it, so it's going to go left. So it doesn't really affect the dead weight much, keeps the balance pretty neutral. If you went very light in the grip, then you're taking weight out. You're going to make it swing heavy swing weight, but not heavy in the handle. So that'll make the club feel a little bit more cumbersome. But with this grip, now a lot of people in the past might have used a heavy grip to reduce swing weight, but you're reducing swing weight to make it feel lighter, but you're actually making the club heavier to make it feel lighter, which is just not ideal. The swing weight has dropped from D1 down to C9. So it's a couple of swing weight points. So 10 grams or so in the grip. So straight away, from a pickup point of view, I can immediately feel there's more under the handle here. So rather than feeling a flow of weight through the club, it feels handle heavy, because it is. But it also means I lose sensation for the club head. So
hell of a pair of green trousers, those, by the way.
Thank you very much.
They're nice.
Yeah.
I like those.
Ralph Lauren.
Mm.
Yeah. So you lose a bit of sensation for the head, but for me, where I tend to use the weight in the club head with the driver, what that means is, one, when I pick the club up, it actually feels like the club gets up and away from me. So almost like turning the club around, the club doesn't stay in plane quite as well, and I've managed to save it, but my path's got more out to in. So it's created more of an out to in path rather than dropping in and then allow me to square the face through. So I have to manage that balance a heck of a lot more than where there's weight in the head. So how the whole club moves and shifts, heavier handle, gets more behind and you flip the head at it. Lighter grip, you like to move the handle out in front of you more, but could leave the club head being a little bit detached.
Daniel Winterbottom asked, Simon, do you think mini drivers are here to stay? I prefer small heads. 5 wood is T club now.
I think they should be. I think the success of the Burner Mini and the Callaway, the AI Smoke Mini, you know, we see it. There are two functions of it. One is someone who just hits down on their driver a lot. You're never going to get the best out of the big heads with that. So it gives a head that actually, and where they've actually got them spinning like a driver. They're a teeing off club, not a fairway wood predominantly. So the distance is there, but they either suit someone who's technically not great with the driver and needs the smaller head to not let it kind of spray everywhere. The geometry of the head helps with that for a downward strike. And also the shorter shaft, from a dispersion point of view, that can help players a lot as well, because it's only ½ inch longer than the 3 wood, 3/4 inch longer than the 3 wood. So I think they are here to stay. It's just whether they go into the main line of product that launches in the new year that's there through the whole year. My fear is it's going to be as it is this year, where they produce a limited number knowing they're going to sell them in no time at all. And the shame would be that they're then just there in pockets, and unless you get hold of one, it's searching eBay or the really limited runs. But I think they should be here to say yes.
Interesting. So, where am I? Where am I?
We often find ourselves asking this at 6:45 on a Saturday.
Mega double R18. Hi, what does a draw setting actually achieve on a drive? Had issues with a plus face angle, mostly have a positive club path and a positive attack angle, but getting right shots.
So a draw setting, literally, it angles the face in, it toes it in, 1 to 2 degrees. So it means that you just have to work 1 or 2 degrees less to square the toe up. Now that, if you're at 100 miles an hour, is going to make about 10 to 15 yards worth of difference, as long as nothing else changes. So it will help just get the toe relative to your grip alignment. It brings the toe in a little bit more and just makes it easier to square it up.
W Bubbles. I love
some new handles here.
I love full face grooves. I know it's great, isn't it? I love full face grooves now. Hated them when I first saw them. Now I've grown to love them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do a function. I think once you get used to the visual of it, for say bunker shots that are in rough where they catch high up the face, you're still getting grip and pulling the flight down rather than it popping up with no spin. So yeah.
Aidan, any thoughts on right elbow position on top of backswing? Is flared out an issue? Also, what about hand height at the top?
Flared elbow.
Flared elbow. So flared elbow is not enough forearm rotation in a golf swing. So if you take, so principally a backswing is made up of arm lift, forearm rotation and rotation. If you've got an elbow that works out that way, that means that invariably your right arm is actually trying to square the club face. So that right elbow, if it was to actually, if you were to lift the club up in front of you, point the shaft at 45 degrees across your chest and then take it to the top of the backswing, ask yourself when you look down, first of all, have you got enough external rotation in your right arm to allow that to work in your shoulder? Some people haven't, but you only need about 8 to 12 degrees of external rotation. Most people are able to do that. If you can't do that, you might want to extend the amount of hip rotation to allow your chest to move around and get your arm in the right spot. But if you do get yourself in a spot at the top where you feel like your right arm is underneath and you look down the golf ball and you feel that that golf ball is going to bounce off that sidewall, you might want to sort out your club face first, because it may look pretty and it might tick a box for why you believe it needs to be. But if it's going to go right, that is not going to be a good problem, a good thing to have. So I would make sure that it feels when it's in the right spot that the ball's going to go straight. What was the other question? You remember?
No. Height of hands.
Height of hands. Well, height of hands, arm lift is really setting really a precedent for your path line. If you're someone that battles with a bit of a hook, you'll invariably have low arm height. If you're someone that battles a bit of a slice, you'll normally battle with too high arms, because obviously the higher the arms are, the more opportunity you've got of coming outside in to pull the path left and stop it going right. And obviously the lower your arms are, the more you'll tend to swing from the inside to stop the hook. So normally arm height is linked absolutely directly with the bend that you see in the sky.
There's been a lot of people talking about high hands ever since, well, in the last few years because you've got Scheffler, Dustin Johnson, Rahm, but if they didn't have such massive body rotations, it wouldn't work. So, and they're hugely flexible as well. So I've seen people get a bit fixated with that in the Bay over the last few years, and we really shouldn't. So they are, to get a full swing kind of up there somewhere, you've got to be monstrously flexible. So don't necessarily try and copy it.
Absolutely. Mark Rowley asks, hey fellas, how important is the golf ball for consistency? After spending lots of good money on clubs, should you not compromise on the ball?
Ultimately, if you're playing the same ball regularly, you're going to get consistency. If you prioritize short game spin, you can argue feel, but certainly kind of wedge spin, a more premium ball because of the urethane cover, it stretches more, it grips the face more, gets more backspin. And that will give you more short game pitching control. If you want to hit it straighter with the driver, if you want to prioritize straightness off the tee, you want less of that grip and spin, because if you've got side spin, you don't want it gripping the face and spinning, side spinning even more. So you can then go to a kind of more distance ball, because really that's one of the things that changes. The cover is less stretchy and doesn't grip the face as much, therefore doesn't side spin as much. So lower spin, priority off the tee. Higher spin, premium ball, prioritizes wedge spin and control. And that would be the way I would look at it from what's most important in your bag.
Very good. MY says, hi Simon, do tour vans use more P or T tip for irons?
Tour vans will use more P means parallel, T means taper. Taper tip all day long, because the reason why is that you get what you call discrete lengths of shafts, i.e. a 3-iron shaft, a 4-iron shaft, a 5-iron shaft, rather than parallel is a blank that then trimmed the length. But what you get with that is a descending weight, i.e. your 6-iron shaft will be heavier than your 7-iron shaft, will be heavier than your 8-iron shaft, because it's the same base shaft just trimmed shorter and shorter. That is not good, particularly for the pros who need that progression in weight. So taper tip, 99 times out of 100 will be what they use.
Richard's going to ask, Stuart, can you offer coaching advice on how to get your weight forwards with irons? I had a fit recently and I was hitting 1 degree up with my irons. Any advice? Good question, and a few answers. First of all, if you are trying to hit your irons up, there'll be a reason for it, and it's all very well trying to get your weight forwards. That rarely gives you more angle of attack. Weight forwards can come in the way of either your lower half moving forwards or your top half moving forwards. If your lower half is moving forwards, it will actually kick your top half backwards. If you feel like you're stuck on your back foot, you are trying to get some form of closed club face, because the more you sit back on your right side, the more time it gives you to square the club face up. And when you do that, you then get this club head overtaking the handle. Now, if you're someone that battles with a shot to the right, you need to fix the ball bending to the right first. If you fix the ball bending to the right first, then you can start to hit more down. Because when you hit more down, which comes from getting a bit more forwards and a bit more through the shot, the face angle will start to become more open, because the more we lean the shaft forwards, the more the face tends to open up, and so the ball will go more right. If you're already hitting it right, you don't want to hit more down, do you? So you need to make sure that when you do hit down, it's going to go straight. First things first, fix the bend to the right, which I'm pretty sure that you've got, and then you can start to hit more down. But just me getting you to hit more down and go more forwards is going to actually make you worse. So my advice to you would be go head over to see my grip series on my channel. Check out your grip first, get your grip right, and then go from there. And I've got plenty of videos on attack angle and getting your weight forwards as well. Very good. Very good.
You say it's got to fix the root cause.
Yeah, the ingredient, not the symptom. Everybody wants to fix the symptom, which is understandable, right? Because you see yourself sitting back and you go, oh man, I've got to stop my sitting back. Well, actually, the sitting back is actually helping you. Kevin Phillips, evening guys. Simon, do you find Axiom very tip heavy? I have a 105X in my 4-iron and it's D3 with +4 my mid-size 66 gram. What could I do if I go to a lighter grip targeting D2, D3 with new grip?
I'm assuming you're also playing longer than standard, because with a +4, if it's a +4 mid-size, which is that 66 gram grip, and you're still at D3, it's got to be longer than standard or a very heavy head. So depending on what club head you've got on, and that would also account for it. But yes, they do swing. They're not as tip heavy as the MMTs, the Mitsubishi, the metal mesh taper. But they do swing stronger in the tip, and they do definitely increase swing weight slightly versus a lot of other shafts. So your only option would be a lighter head or shortening length if you want to go lighter grip. Or change shaft as well. So, yeah, there are a few options, but depending which one you'd rather do.
W Bubbles says, I thought a lighter grip would increase swing weight.
Lighter grip does increase swing weight, but it does it through lightening the butt end of it. So yeah, it's lighter grip, heavier swing weight, heavier grip, lighter swing weight. Flynn Radcliffe. Hi Simon, looking forward to seeing you again in a few weeks for my wedges. What's the most improvement you've seen from a fitting, and what did you change? What is the most improvement I've seen from a fitting?
Could that be club path, distance, dispersion?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because there are so many parameters.
James says someone was playing left and right-handed and he was better one side than the other. I had a chap today that came with his left-hand and right-hand golf club and said, I've got two swings, I don't know which one I should pursue. On that point of yours, James. I was trying to think, I mean, in 20 years worth, it's trying to think of what I've seen most. I mean, there have been some very, very, very big changes where you've moved someone from a 130 gram shaft into a 90 gram and they've picked up, 3 clubs worth in length. I would say, actually, that's a very good question because you're trying to think of a standout. Listen, we got 7 minutes.
One of the fitters gave a lady 45 yards off the tee recently, which is about 35% of her total distance. That's one of the biggest changes I've seen. But it can just be actually giving someone the ability to play consistently rather than flits of great round, bad round, great round, bad round. So I would say the ones that the most memorable for me actually the ones of giving someone a consistent game rather than necessarily loads of yardage in one club.
Yeah, I think consistency is such a lovely thing to give someone, isn't it? Rather than great all of a sudden 45 yards more. Not sure that.
I mean, it's nice.
It's nice, right?
We had someone not go ahead with the driver. That one of our fitters several years back, they gave him 35 yards off the tee, and he didn't go ahead because he didn't want to be in the rough.
Chris Burgess recently changed to Z full chord align. Give me so much more confidence in my softer grip and aids alignment. Why doesn't everybody do this?
Because everyone's got different size hands, and it's a comfort thing. So they might suit you, but they might not suit me. And some people have very short fingers and couldn't go to a mid-size.
Papa B, hello again, young man. Perhaps it's been asked before, but who introduced you to the game and how old were you?
So I started when I was 8 or 9, and
we've got 6 minutes.
I won't give it a full answer. Literally, my elder brother, friend of his, went on the putting green at Roehampton Club where I started playing. Alan Scott, whose dad played in the Masters, and Ryder Cup was the head pro there. And so my brother went with his friend on the putting green. Me being the younger brother, joined in, and they did junior clinics, and that was that. Yeah.
Rest is history. Andrew Hommant, what difference, if any, would there be a person's swing characteristics when fitting, when working on fixing being across the line at the top of the swing?
Run that by me again.
What differences, if any, I was just thinking that myself. I said, what's he asking? What difference, if
like
any, would there be to a person's swing characteristics when fitting? Okay. So what he's saying is, if he was to fix his cross the line, what swing characteristics through impact would there be different? When you cross the line, you're more inside out with hook face to path.
Because what happens if you're across the line, to get the club down, you've got to pull it that way, which gets the club that way, and then you tend to find someone looping and flipping. So if you get less across the line, get more on plane, you deliver squarer loft, you add loft, so you don't need as low a loft, and your dispersion will tighten up. So yes, and potentially a very different balance of club as well.
And that comes from someone working too much from trying to get themselves more inside out to hit a draw as well, because the more you take it inside, the more you end up crossing it over at the top. So don't be doing that. And Charlie March, that's a nice name. I played Hazardous Smoke Yellow in my old stealth driver. Now I've got a TSR3 with a Tor Ad DI, but it's too head heavy. Any suggestions for a shaft that could get it's similar to my old setup?
Yeah, so it has the smoke yellow, kind of not proper counterbalance, but upper mid balance, and then the DI actually swings relatively tip heavy. So the yellow is quite a stiff shaft, so you could go into, I mean, even actually something like a Ventus TR won't be a million miles off. If you wanted slightly higher balance than that, Sinister CB, the VA composites, that could be a really good one for you.
Doug asks, Stu, without access to a TrackMan, what do the shape of the divots tell us, i.e. open at first contact ground? Tell you absolutely nothing, Doug. David Rice, hello fellow golfers.
Doesn't it? That's about it.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, because the face can rotate.
It doesn't tell you anything. And it doesn't even tell you if you're hitting down or up, because you can take a divot by hitting up on the golf ball. So it really doesn't. Hello golfers, hello fellow golfers. I'm currently playing Project X LS 120 gram shafts. My swing speed for irons are the 70s range. I follow Stuart's methods, so there is bright futures. Can you suggest new shafts?
I'd definitely suggest going lighter. How much lighter, I don't know, but if you're in the 70s for club speed, I would normally, for that shaft, expect someone to be mid to upper 80s. So chances are dropping down to more like 195 to 105 grams. This is a complete guess because I've not seen you swing, but lighter will make it easier to generate speed and stay balanced.
Matt M, hi chaps. Simon, in your opinion, what would be the most forgiving wedges currently on the market?
Ooh, I mean, the CBX 4 Clevelands are very good. Those would probably be one of the most forgiving. Wide sole as well.
Numero Juno, what a great handle that is. A question from Malabar, India. Do junior amateur 11 to 13 years old girls benefit from standard kits, US kids, or fitted clubs with regular club heads and or with specific shafts?
It's going to depend on how developed they are. You know, between 11 and 13 years old, girls in particular, they grow earlier than boys do most of the time. So you could have a 12-year-old girl who's 5'5" and have a 12-year-old girl who's 4'5", and completely different strengths and physical ability. So unfortunately, you could range from the US kids through to full kind of lighter weight heads probably, but full kind of adult models, and get good results depending on the player. So it's very player specific, I'm afraid. I can't be more definite than that.
Daniel Winterbottom, thanks for your help. My path face generally counteract each other with the new grip, then occasionally goes straight right. Yep. So again, Daniel was speaking about is too much inside out. And if it goes straight right, it's just you trying to hold it off. So if they counter each other, that's normally, you could be 8 from the inside and 8 shut to path or 6 shut to path. That is too big a dispersion. You only want to have 1 or 2 from the in and 1 or 2 shut to path if you're looking for a pure draw. So I would be conscious, yes, they might balance each other out, but that they're probably too big a gap between the two.
To hit target, you want the face angle roughly half of your path, and obviously the opposite way. That would be the formula.
Sneaky shots. Hi guys, could you demonstrate your golf swing, but with the body isolated so we can see what your arms would do independently of the body? I mean, there is no real relevance in that because we all move differently. We all have different arm heights. We all have different grips. It's more relevant to you, but I mean, I'm not.
So body with the arms. So
yeah. So isolated. Hi guys, could you demonstrate your golf swing with the body isolated so we can see just what your arms would do independently of your body?
I try and keep them as connected as possible. So that's my kind of body turn to be there. I try and keep everything as on plane as possible.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
that might work for me, but it might
exactly.
Yeah.
I think the commonality in all golf swings, you need to have an element of arm lift, you need to have an element of arm rotation with a good grip, and then your body will start to help you manage that. Looking for what people do in isolation, what Simon does in his swing and what I do in my, two completely different things, and our body actions are different, and so our arm actions are going to be different, and everyone's different. But you tend to find characteristics of golfers. So if you're someone that's a fader of the golf ball, what you might want to do is go find a tour player that fades it and look at his action. If you're a drawer of the golf ball, go search out a tour player that draws it, but don't just pick one. Pick maybe 5 or 6. Look at them. If you know, your question was, what do we do? I assume that's to find a way of what's going to help your game out. Go find 5 or 6 tour players that hit the shape that you hit, and then try to find out some commonalities of what they do well, and then link that to your game. They might all rotate more than the other. They all might have more arm lift than the others, and then compare that to what you're doing, and that might give you some guidance rather than, you know, Simon's more of a draw biased player, likes to feel a fade, but draw biased player. I'm more of a fade biased player, like to play that way. So we're two completely different, yet we swing at the nuts and bolts the same speed. So, you know, you need to pick some golf swings that suit you. I think that's probably
and ultimately your body mobility will dictate. If you can't move your body a lot, then you're going to move your arms more.
Yeah.
So yes, it's like thumbprints, fingerprints, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've managed to get through all of those questions, which is amazing because there was lots,
and basically in time.
And it was great to see so many questions there before we got going. How's it all been at work? I mean, I've been a little bit away, been here. Great live last week with Nick. Nice to see Nick.
It's nice to get Nick on, and everyone could understand him, which was an even bigger plus for the Liverpudlian accent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so nice to get Nick on. This time of year is sort of interesting. It's a little more kind of pockets of busyness. There's a bit of illness going around, so we've had a couple of breaks in the diary where a few clients are being ill. That actually gives us a bit of breathing time as fitters to get together and talk about products and do a bit of training and things as well. But as we're kind of getting towards the back end of the year, people get their equipment set up for the new year. It's still pretty busy, but I got a few insights into products launching next year.
And I've got a question for you actually. Young Christos, those who a good while back, he got fitted. He has now.
He's a bit taller now.
Yeah, he's a bit taller now. We were seeing his club speed has gone with driver has gone from 86 miles an hour. He got to 99 tonight.
Right. Yeah.
Is that going to need a new fitting?
That you're looking at 20%. Yeah, that's certainly worth checking out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Brilliant. And what would you tend to see if someone, for the golfers out there that are improving their game and they're starting to swing a bit faster, what are the things that you might tend to see when that starts to happen?
So swinging faster can come 2 ways. One can just be better technique, so you're moving more efficiently. And for Christos, he's growing, he's getting older, he's getting stronger. So for Christos, it's probably going to mean going up a little bit in weight. And actually now we're at this time of year giving something potentially to challenge him through the winter that right now might be a bit hard work, but then we hit the ground running in Feb, March. So it depends how the speed's gained. Say for him it's strength and longer limbs. For other golfers, if your technique's improved, then you can just be moving more efficiently, and actually the club can still work perfectly well. So, but testing is the one way to be sure.
We've got loads of really, really exciting content coming up on the Precision Golf channel. Do head over and check that out. We've really had a bit of an uptick on our content production and the regularity of it. So do head over and check that out. As ever, big thanks Simon and James on drums doesn't get enough of a mention. It's always nice to be back in the studio doing these Monday Night Lives. I'm definitely here next week. Are you here next week?
I'm certainly here.
You're definitely here.
Absolutely,
I'm sure James is here next week. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed tonight, do hit the like and do maybe share this with your friends. We'd love to get more of you along. And why not subscribe while you're there too. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday.